Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 29 of Illium, our modded CS1 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We managed to get one of the new DLCs in last episode with the gentrification of a old factory park. Turned out to be one of my favourite areas of the city. There's something about old brick, glass and monorail that just works so well together, isn't there? And today we'll be continuing the part 2 of the Central Park build. Building out from the back of the Central Park we placed many episodes ago, alongside adding in the city's first zoo, and lots more hilltop park themed detailing to create this green diamond of Illium. But either way, welcome back to the city everyone, and a happy Monday to you all. So I think we'll start expanding from the back of the Central Park with an asset. And I think the Disaster Memorial, which we have already used in the city. Well, thankfully, I can use unique buildings again and again. But yeah, I think it's certainly some kind of hilltop memorial space. That's going to allow us to really open up the back of this Central Park and keep quite a lot of this space around the top quite green, so it flows as a park surrounded by city eventually. But I think we also possibly just want to give ourselves a touch more breathing room here so we can develop this plaza. So let's just reroute this arterial slightly. Something to that extent, just so I can allow this back plaza space to breathe a little bit. So in today's episode, could be one of the most terrain challenging we're likely to have in the city. It's not going to get much more gnarly than this atop the Central Park Hill. Which I think certainly probably involves the use of some retaining walls here. But I don't want these to wrap all the way around, essentially. So let's come in here, let's come to the angle snap. And we'll box this in, essentially just up until the edge of the concrete on the Disaster Memorial, I think. And then we'll wrap this up to somewhere like that. Just do some minor movement adjustments here with all our nodes. Make sure everyone is at the same height. And we've got a little bit of height discrepancy here. I might just bring this node up to the same height as the key. And then certainly some sloping terrain as we come up into this memorial plaza. We're doing a little bit of testing for this. I did actually go ahead and try out some pond work to see if we could get a water feature here. But the space is a little too narrow for custom water, so ended up leaving it. With this installed, let's now feed some vanilla pathway around back of the memorial. We'll give this, of course, a full box in, and then we'll bring it, I think, down here, and this will form a really wonderful viewpoint space, I think, for the city, especially with so much transit coming around the Central Park as well. Of course, we've got trams down here as well, not too far away. And then let's just map these out across connections we imagine would probably make sense. And then we can have something like this sitting here. Which I think is such a nice accompaniment, isn't it, to this big flowing Central Park space. Emerging out of the park into the Disaster Memorial. And then loads of little pathways linking people back down. And I think within this space is also going to be quite a nice opportunity to include one of the Brutalist uniques in particular, the Brutalist stack towers. I think I'm quite keen to use. Quite a green themed asset, isn't it? I might even bob this, I think. Bob the first Brutalist building. Get rid of all the birch trees. We'll do our own trees on it. He's going to deform the terrain, of course, because it's a building. And this shouldn't be too hard to tidy up, just a little bit of flatten. And then a touch of soften. I think I can deal with that. We'll get loads of landscaping around here as well, tons of flower beds, roadies, detail it up. I think that's quite appropriate, almost very artsy kind of asset for the Central Park, isn't it? Yeah, big fan of that there. Actually pairs very nice with the disaster memorial too. Coming into the rest of the park, we can detail all this up of course, we'll carry on flowing down. I would like to include, I think, a bit of a tiered zoo of some description. Now these roads aren't massively important anymore, I don't think. So I'm going to remove most of them. Not entirely sure what's going to happen with the exit of this one. We probably honestly don't even need it, really. Not if this is going to be filled with zoo, anyway. We'll see how that works out. But as an entrance to the zoo, I think what I'd like to try and do is feed a bit of an entrance road under the arterial. Because we have so much elevation here, I think we can really use it to make the road network quite unique. So I'm going to upgrade that segment there to be road, so we can bring something under it. And then with a little bit of level terrain, I'm just going to clear myself a pathway where a road would be happy to come through. Don't really want to change the elevation of the arterial. I'd rather bring the local roads down a bit. Okay, push all this back. Again, rock walls and retaining walls will be our friend today. Something like that. I can also envision this road being pedestrianised as well eventually with what I have in mind for the zoo entrance. Cool. We'll also have the monorail flowing through the zoo, which will be wonderful scenes. And then from this road here, you just want to come straight down and under. Which is definitely clipping with the bridge, so we'll just set this node to be the same height as the starting one. I think we've also got a node right in the middle there, haven't we? Just move its marquee to get that one. Let's bring all three of them down until we're roughly happy with how it looks. But also just increase these two nodes up here as well. And then we'll do a little T-junction here, just so we can place our park life gate. Of course, which will be a zoo. Just realised I'm still playing with unlimited money on. There we go. It's a game anarchy setting that carries over from other builds, so my apologies for that. I do get quite a few comments on that every time it happens, which it does happen probably a little too often, me forgetting to turn off unlimited money. Yeah, so of course we can centralise that, and then with this road off to the left, I think we'll bring in some pedestrianisation here. Straight to there. I do want this, however, forced to ground, I think. And then that as well, that does require a pedestrian area. Do we have one nearby? Although I imagine I'm probably going to have quite a lot of pedestrian roads around this whole hilltop eventually, so it's probably worth another pedestrian area at this point. Which, I wonder if I can get this to fit here. Now I don't want to connect these roads in here. At least maybe not in all instances. I might do that one there. But otherwise, I'd rather them go and take the bow tie intersection over this way. I will force them to use my traffic flow mechanisms. Which is starting to pick up some use now actually. People are passing through this. Using the right turns, removing the left of course. He's going to come back around. You see, to take this left turn. There we go. It's great stuff. Really super simple intersection, this one. But does a really good job for you. Let's have our large pedestrian area point just tucked in here. That'll be quite nice to blend into all this existing detail around here, I think, on the time-lapse. And probably don't want the traffic light here either. Go ahead and turn that off. And this is also going to become Larson Zoo, named after our wonderful Golden Egg patron, Trevor Larson. Thank you for all your incredible support, Trevor. A real secret blend of herbs and spices, mate. Thank you so much. So with the zoo in here, I would like to begin terraforming. Because this terrain's so gnarly, like it's really steep here, if we just place the assets all on the same field, it'll really tear the terrain. So I think we have to use layering to our advantage. Let's push this tier right up against that metro line. Use that as the natural boundary. And it's possibly worth considering a second side gate here, because I imagine people will want to get in directly from the metro. So we'll account for that as well. Without removing my pedestrian area. Just tuck that into monorail. There we go, now he's happy. And then with the zoo, we'll add a side gate on. That will tear the terrain, but we'll deal with that after the fact. And then here with the pathways, we'll have something I think snapped. You actually don't need to be level crossing anymore, do you? Because we're not sending a road down there anymore. So we'll redesign that. And then I just want to snap to the road guidelines of the metro. Bring this all the way down. It likely won't be this big. Then we'll bring this up. And then it's probably going to follow a similar switchback system to the road. Obviously can handle a bit more of a steeper gradient. To connect into that. So let's just roughly place down our first assets. And we'll have a bit of a welcome center here. Some cafes, tables, toilets, etc. And we could even do some stairs here, which I might do in a second. So I'm going to save myself some space there for that visitor center. And then we can start to place in our assets. I'm going to grab each one and just set to the height of a local node. Which gives us the terrible terrain tearing, right? So that's what we'll have to deal with today. So I'll cluster these together, so we'll have our antelopes and birds nearby. And then I'd really love to have people kind of weaving under this monorail rather than animals. Because I imagine we'll have the animal welfare police on us if we are placing enclosures directly under the monorail. So I'll try and fill the space underneath it as best I can with pathways and attractions, as opposed to animals. I can come down there. And we can see how we can start mapping the terrain out here now with the zoo. So we'll go for bison, which is an asset that comes with its own pathways, which is fine. We'll just manually connect in. That can go there. And then this can create a new kind of edge of zoo, if you like. Go up to there is 7 units, so we'll do a nice 7 curve. So it matches. And this can go up. And this is why I'm thinking I'm not going to need this now, unless we use this as a bit of a car parking facility for the zoo. I suppose we could. We'll see what happens with that. I could just use that as a bit of a boundary, I suppose. The final corners might change. Let's carry on placing down our assets here. So we also have, we just did the bison. The insect and reptile house I'd like to have, I think, near the entrance. Directly opposite the entrance. Yeah, this will really mess the terrain up, but mods will save us, everyone. Okay, so I can actually have that sit there quite a distance off the pathway and still have it connected, which leaves me some nice detailing room at the front. Out the back, things are a bit more of a different story, but this is going to be the theme of the build. How hideable is this with overgrowth? I'm reluctant to use retaining walls in the zoo, for whatever reason. I think it just looks maybe a bit too industrial, doesn't it? That's the right word, probably not. But I think if we just hammer it with tropical trees and thick vegetation, it should allow us to have a little more freedom with the terrain, I think. And lots of palms in here as well. And see how we feel perhaps from the pathway of the zoos here. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think I can get on board with this theme. I'll try and make it significantly less severe, the terrain over this way, compared to everything else it's doing. That'll be fine. That gives us yet another enclosure. The Tarsier house, we'll wait a little bit. It's a much smaller asset, that one. The flamingo enclosure. It actually looks like it wants to snap too. Those assets. Yeah, it does. It will snap in actually, doesn't it? Okay. Well, that makes my life a little easier. Sweet. I'll be happy with that, I think. Actually going in a lot easier than I thought it would do. Elephants are next. This is definitely one of the biggest enclosures. And I'd quite like this, I think, to be visible. Kind of from the main road, almost basically sat here. Again. Which is a fairly gnarly terrain change. Well, I think if anything, I'd like the zoo to be, I guess, sunken against the main road. Are we massively bothered about this pathway? I think we are. But, again, fencing, I think we'll hide it. And then we'll have the zoo pathway come this way, just to provide our enclosure connection. Correct any heights. There we go. I think I'm going to continue this pathway as a border. Can I get it there without... It does deform the terrain, but it's deforming it for the elephants, which I guess is... somewhat natural topography for them, probably. I don't mind it there. Can I surface paint that concrete away, I wonder? That's what's doing it for me. Yeah, I can. Use this one here, by the way. The clip will unpaint terrain for you. Very handy tool for exact instances like that. Yes, I can deal with that, I think. We'll have the elephants there. We obviously won't be using the sea life enclosure here. Giraffes. Yes. Oh, do you know what? With that elevation there, how would that look? I've never tried that before. Yeah, it clips with the pathway. We can't have it there. I'll have it nearby, though. We'll do... That works for me. And then that one is going to make sense to go back down into there. And then little spaces like this we can fill with more visitor centres, cafes, souvenir shops, etc. We're quite happy with that there. And then we're coming to the end of our enclosures now. The Monkey Palace, for sure. Looks like it might fit in quite nicely here, actually. Being mindful not to give access to the monorail for the monkeys. I imagine they would probably be able to get up there quite easily. Then we have rhinos, which I would like to use. Something like that. I don't mind if the trees are clipping with another enclosure. Like that almost like natural retaining wall. Well, it's not a natural wall, is it? It is very much a man-made wall. But we can have it right in the antelope enclosure here. And it's not too horrendous on the pathways it sits elsewhere. It's easily going to be the most difficult zoo we've done this. It's absolutely wild terrain to be working on. And then we just leave us with the last one, which is going to be the lion enclosure, isn't it? Which isn't a massive asset, but we have, I think, quickly run out of room here. Although it actually very nearly sits and fits there, does it? This is one of its own ways, though. So we'll line this up. Thankfully, we'd move it onto the same height as this node down here. And then we'll let them line up. There's going to be a few short segments here of path network, but it won't be too much of an issue. It's really when the short road segments is what tends to get them stuck. Although that is a really nasty segment there. Might actually rework that entirely. Maybe we can bring that out from here instead. I think we'll go with that. We want to bring this one down though. Just so we get a bit of a gradient back up. Yeah, I've got a feeling we're going to get a lot of stuck sims on a segment that shimmers like that when it's just anarchied in too much. So we'll remove it, I think. And we can get a sense of the monorail flowing over the zoo. Which should hopefully be very impressive. There goes the metro at the same time. So fun to see this bit of Illium coming alive, isn't it? Great stuff. I love that. I love the monorail. Easily the best bit of the city. Yes, which then just leaves us with loads of really awful, nasty terrain to tidy up during the time lapse and bring in some toilet and cafe plazas, essentially. I wouldn't mind having some car parking up at the front. But I think the terrain around it is going to make it really obnoxious, to be honest. So I think I might just carry it on in this area here. This can essentially be our zoo car parking, I think. Which all but confirms this roundabout exit is no longer needed. And then we'll change this to a bend so the roundabout flows all the way around. Not that that was really massive anyway. It goes off on arterial connections and there will be something down here one day. Imagine some sort of garbage recycling for this bit of the city will lie down that road. Wonderful. I'm happy with the zoo here. Let's talk about some residential designs for here, because I think if we're going to have people living atop the central park, they deserve to be quite nice and very luxurious, expensive apartments indeed if you want to live in this bit of Illium. So coming into our Green Cities residential designs, I think we'll go for some Green Cities row homes to start off with. A simple find it filter of require green cities, and then a 1x2 filter for assets will give you all the Green Cities row homes you need. And as we're, again, kind of remembering the grander crawling height here, medium density up to high, of course, with the rest of the downtown. But I'm happy to start tapering off here. So thinking the grander scheme of the build. Some row homes will go really nicely here. And we do have the ability to rework some of the road orientation, but we'll take a look at that in a second. And then I think we'll place these in continual blocks of 5. And then we'll bring this road out here. Probably was the roundabout, will be fine. And then these are very much of the apartments that kind of cost well in excess of $1 million if you want to live up here, right? And I imagine the people living here, if we can position ourselves on one of their balconies, look here, we'll have pretty incredible views of not only the monorail going back down the hill, but the wider airport district as well. That'd be my favourite view in the city, that, you know, down to the regional airport. Especially seeing the planes on the runway. Nice, that, isn't it? I'm a big fan of that. Very nice. The space behind, probably just turn it, I think, into, I mean, what's on the back of these buildings? Just doorways and, I guess, fuse boxes, I suppose they are, aren't they? So I think we'll just match these up with an airport apron before we feed a pathway down in between the buildings. And then we can have some behind house detailing here, dumpsters, tables, or whatever, bit of communal space perhaps. For some residents living up here. We did also have some comments on the road planning episode about the gradient of the monorail. I think it probably needs to be sloped out a bit more here, doesn't it? Maybe here. Yeah, we'll do that in our time lapses. A little bit sharp there, isn't it, I suppose? And then with those in, I also want some more green cities developments up here. Things we've done before in terms of our high density fusibles with green cities. And again, more luxurious apartments. So I think if we go for maybe 3 of these, now we'll use some building spawn points here to get them to function. Again, more in the vein of massive multi-million-dollar apartments for the elite of Illium. And I suppose another one's going to make sense there, isn't it? Just so we can complete that central block there. And which should give us a little bit more medium density poppage as we enjoy the lateral view of the skyline here. Just noticing these peaks that go along. And we can probably have a few of these here, I imagine, I think. Let's have another little go over here. Again, I'm sticking to green cities because it's, I guess, the most appropriate for this particular instance, isn't it? With those apartment blocks actually blending quite nicely indeed with the Brutalist building, don't they? Yeah, I don't hate them at all, actually. Lots of greys and sharp angles. Also, it might have possibly discovered a new DLC combination there of green cities and brutalism as a possible spice combo. But with those ideas down, I think we're in a good spot for some detailing. Fill all this in around the edges here with our usual props and happy detailing. Alongside building out the rest of the park, those toilet and cafe spaces we talked about, and lots of terrain jank hiding to working with here to create a real sort of lush green gem that will eventually be surrounded by Illium's concrete downtown. Which I think will be an important element of the build, that once we move past this arterial, is that we move back to this kind of dense concrete space that makes up the rest of the downtown, because I only want, I guess, sort of these boundaries within these roads to be very lush and green, so it really stands out as a central park once the rest of downtown Illium and the surrounding suburb of downtown is actually built in. So a really fun and quite challenging part of the city. But otherwise, grab yourself some snacks and we'll be right back with detailing time-lapse. a little detailing review, shall we? Of one of the coolest areas of the city. The layers at play here, the transit overhead, everything just looks awesome. So happy with it. We completed our row home blocks around various different shaped blocks over here. And lots of trees in between them as well to help protect them from local noise pollution, for which there is quite a bit of. Some commercial and services along the edge of the car park, and bringing us up to the metro station, which unfortunately isn't as busy as its counterpart down the road. Literally zero. We're currently in the last week. They are stopping here, I hope. I think they are anyway. They definitely are. That has spooked me somewhat. Yes, they're definitely stopping. But no one's getting off here, just the one person. Also dropped in the log flume, which I realise might be a little bit of a bolder shout, but I really enjoyed its presence in and around the park here, especially sat against the arterial road. Parks and trees, back of service point detailing, things we've seen before here. Just to elaborate the spaces that we're given with the assets. More over-the-top green cities combinations to indicate really rich, luxurious apartments with some of the best views in the city from these penthouses up here, right over the Bay of Illium. Great stuff. Up into the plaza bit of the park, we have some concrete expansion around the foot of the Brutalist building, with some statues, pathways, lots of landscape, and another Brutalist plaza next door to the disaster memorial, which is a really nice positioning for this asset, I think. Cafes, tables, and again just a really cool view back to this old gentrified factory district. Doesn't that look awesome? Just love this combination of assets right here. The old industrial now commercialized into modern industry. Such a cool park, that emerging history, isn't it? Or renewed history rather. Some other light commercial down here too, wall to wall and King Leno's stuff, giving us some parkside shopping up these pretty steep hills up here, all the way through. Very busy central park space. There's currently a gig going on as well, which is great to see. So just probably my favourite park we've done now, I think, outside of Thessia. But that was a really nice park too. Even these guys are up here on the balconies, right? Enjoying these wonderful scenes as they literally jump off the edge just to get back down. Hilarious. And then our towers are all fused here. Right, with our zoo, also dropped in some billboards occasionally. A fire station also went in, which fits the space perfectly, especially with this little second window just leaning on the pavement of the road above. So layers really coming in to help complement the build. Some of the new parks from renewed history again here on the main road, down toward the station. There's also a bus running here as well. This comes in a loop around the suburb. So you can see it returning here. Before coming back downhill and then actually heading to the airport train station. Sorry, bus station, over here. So you now have two lines here. People arriving from the airport wanting to come to the central park now have a direct bus connection. Of course, they also have a direct metro connection, because this line is also this one here. But that's why a much more convoluted route through the city centre first. It's a little bit of an express bus route up here, straight from the airport if that was appropriate. Lots of hedge lining and kind of boundary detailing with forest and those hedges against the roads of the park. And lots of different asset combinations, city park stuff. Expanded cafes, toilets and souvenir shops. Also dropped in one of those little warehouses again, which is a really nice blend, I think, from this district up into the park itself. And then dropped in a campus maintenance building, you know, so the people that come round here and water the grass or something like that have a base to work out from to help maintain the green space around here. And I love this plaza, right? How busy is this? Very nice. Getting 423 at the metro and 163 down at this monorail. I think because they're probably drawn to the metro first, that monorail stop at the top is just being siphoned quite heavily. But maybe as population continues to filter in with all these plopped buildings, that will change. But this is definitely the busier end of the park down here on this side gate, heading into it. So lots of scurry to be had here, which makes this whole gentrified park seem so much busier. There are people coming to see the old history and all the entertainment around here. Love the scurry. Hello people. And pretty much all of those are heading immediately into the park there. For fun games and entertainment, also some amusement park stuff in here too. Balloon carts, cafes, more souvenir shops, Jerry Senior. And then some change of surface on landscaping as the monorail passes over, which we can enjoy one more time before the cinematics. There it goes. Great stuff. I love the monorails. And then simple part detailing, and to tie together what was really an absolute nightmare to work with, an incredibly challenging build today. That was not easy terrain whatsoever, and we've still got plenty more of it to go off to the right here as well, as the central hill park will definitely flow into a part 3, I believe, with some significantly more residential hillside ahead of us. But either way, an enormous shout out to the patrons and YouTube members that bankroll these videos, with a roll call to our fantastic Golden Egg patrons: Casino, Spartan Angel, Michael W, Phoenix MD, Blythe, Jamin, Great C, Bryce Johnson, Sean, and Trevor Larson. Thank you so much indeed for your incredible support, guys. Insane how many golden eggs there is now. Either way, hang around for the cinematics, the nighttime views with the monorail in particular, pretty breathtaking from here, so enjoy them. And I'll see you next episode. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.